have with us Rosie O'Donnell. We have June Squibb also joining us. And as you saw in the last clip, and they've asked her back for seconds, we have Lavin joining us as well.
There you go. Climbing up, all right. Oh, boy.
Good evening, ladies.
Hello.
Hello.
There's a lot of cardio getting in this seat.
Where's that? So we're going to have a conversation about the guest star experience. We're going to talk about the guest starring roles on Mom and maybe expand it a little bit to what it's like to be a guest star on this and other shows. You guys have amazing resumes sitting here on this stage. But let's start with the show that we just saw. And each of you have been a part of this last season of Mom. And June, you were in the season opener, so let's. I guess we'll start with you because that was the first episode of the season. What was it like coming into that, and was there like a special vibe because it was the first episode of the new season?
I think they were all very excited and not tired.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah.
And it was great because we were talking about this before. The first reading, the table read where you all sit around the table and well, you all know that. What am I doing? Anyway, it was so great because all these women, and they kept talking about the fact, Ellen Burstyn and I were both in the scene. My God, 2 more women of a certain age. So that they were just thrilled that their show was doing this. And it was pretty thrilling to be on the show and working with these people.
Now, did you know the show before you went into it?
I did. I'd seen it quite a bit, actually. I liked the show.
Now, what's so interesting about Mom is that it is one of the more dramatic of these multi-camera sitcoms. Usually that's just joke, joke, joke. But this show kind of takes us back to a time when there were shows like Roseanne and Grace Under Fire, people who were actually struggling in life. And this episode that you were in turned out to be quite dramatic, especially when the focus turned to Ellen playing the real mom, not the mother that they were mistaking you to be. Yeah.
No, it was. She was wonderful, and of course the Allison, and she had one scene in particular at Ellen's home that was just stunning, and I feel that they let that breathe. They don't try to shorten it, but nor do they extend it. But they just let it kind of breathe. Those kind of scenes that are very real and a lot of drama.
So, and your part, though, was it sort of like the comic punchline?
I think it was. I said this before. I think they had me there, because it was a funny situation. They thought that I was the mother. And, going back and forth between me and Ellen all the time. But
you've had quite a run with the Chuck Lorre sitcoms.
I have. Yeah. This was my 4th. I had done 2.5 Men, Mike and Molly, and Mom, and then I did a Big Bang Theory.
Did you do that? You did that after this?
After Mom, yeah.
And not just a Big Bang Theory.
Meemaw.
You were Meemaw on the Big Bang Theory. I don't know how many saw that, but the legendary Meemaw.
Yes.
Yeah.
She came to life.
And that played more to the strengths that we associate with you, sort of flipping the cliche of the kindly elderly lady on its head, right?
Yeah.
So how much can you compare the experiences of Mom and Big Bang Theory?
Well, in the one working with the 2 women, or 3 with Ellen, and the other, I was amazed at the Big Bang Theory, I don't want to even use the word competence because it's so much more than that. That company is great. They are just amazing to watch them work and how they go about doing their show. Each show has a different feeling to it that you walk into. And this one, I was really just sort of amazed at how really good all of those actors were at working together, at achieving what had to be achieved.
Well, it's like you're walking into like a well-oiled machine
Yes.
to a certain extent, is it not for any of you?
It was for Mom, too. But there's a different feeling. I think maybe the fact there are so many women on Mom gives it a different feeling.
Well, that's pretty rare. And your episode dealt with a really interesting subject matter that the character Bonnie has sides to her that we had no idea, I suppose. But how did they approach you? You have a really interesting story about how this came in, how this sort of possibly fell into your lap.
Yes, I went to see Hamilton, a new musical. Don't know if you've heard about it. Look it up, Richard Rodgers. And my son was 16, sitting next to me, and Chuck Lorre is in the row in front of me, and he's looking at me, and he's smiling. I'm thinking, I don't know who that is. It's not Bert Convy. It's not Gabe Kaplan. It's younger. It's someone in the... I said, I'm sorry, I don't remember your name. And he said that it was him, Chuck Lorre, and I said to Blake, this guy made your favorite show. And without missing a beat, he said Big Bang Theory. And then he and Chuck Lorre had a lovely conversation about all the details of that show. And about a week later, he called me and said, would you like to do a guest spot and you get to kiss Allison Janney? And I said, I am in.
Awesome. So let us talk about that kiss. I mean, or even just the process of coming into it. You do it, as June said, you do a table read first, then you start going into the thing. Coming into this process from, they've been doing it week after week after week. You just be dropped into it. So what is this process like? And also preparing for a scene such as that with an actress that you've basically just met on the stage.
Yeah, and admired for so long. I mean, she's an amazing actress in classical and comedy, and no matter what, she can do it. I've seen her on Broadway. I've seen her in Shakespeare in the Park. She's unbelievable. And I didn't want to be, being a lesbian in real life. Newsflash, I don't know. Get off your Twitter, sir. Don't tell people. It's too soon. They're not ready for it. November, Hillary. Anyway, the thing is, it's not about politics, it's about acting. Lots of women around that house, too. Anyway, we're not going near him, trust me. Orange man. Anyway, the thing is, it's fine. His mouth looks like an anus. Anyway, what I'm trying to say about Mom is that everyone was really warm and lovely, but being that I am gay, I didn't want to be like, pushing the kiss part because I didn't, I know she's not gay, and I didn't want to be, I didn't know. So when we got up to that scene, she's like, okay, then we do the kiss. And then I thought, oh, God, she doesn't want to do the kiss. And then I stayed up all night going, why didn't she want to do the kiss? Should I have tried to do the kiss? Did she think I didn't want to do the kiss? I called my therapist. She said, come in for an extra section next week. You really should up your meds, O'Donnell. And then we did the kiss. But in that scene, there was a guy kissing her as well. And she did tell Anna Faris that I was a better kisser.
Awesome.
That's all it needs.
Yeah, that's all you
No
need.
surprise.
I'm just saying.
But seeing this episode and this show and now Where Our Society Is, I keep flashing back to shows like Roseanne and how that episode of Roseanne that made such history when Roseanne and Mariel Hemingway kissed. And something like this comes on TV and no one is giving it a second thought anymore, really. And I think that has got to be a good thing, right?
Well, it's amazing to be 54 years old and have watched this my whole life, And I remember when the Supreme Court declared that we were actually full citizens and we were allowed to have equal rights to our heterosexual siblings. I was coming out of therapy again, and there were two teenage girls, high school age, holding hands. And I was like so overwhelmed. I had been crying. I said, oh, my God, are you guys a couple? And they kind of held hands tight. I said, yeah. I said, isn't it the most amazing? I mean, like, you're in high school, right? You're in yeah, we're in high school. Like, what grades are you in? And do you hold hands like this in high school? Because everyone kind of knows. And then she's like, Mindy, get behind me. And then I'm like, no, I'm gay. I don't care what you are, lady. Don't talk to us. They thought I was fucking hitting on them. I swear to God, it was like a maternal, oh my God, we are the world. We've come so far. Harvey Milk died for this is what I was thinking. But they were like, pedophile, 911, could be accosting me. When I had my show in '96, just to tell you how far the world has changed, I took the deal with Warner Brothers. It was multi-millions of dollars. And I said to them before I signed, I want you to know I'm gay. I want you to know that because I know if this came out, it could really hurt your financial investment. And I don't imagine me ever coming out. At the time, no one was out, besides Elton John, pretty much. No actor was out on television and working. It was still considered to be a death threat to your career. So I said, but I just need you to know before you invest millions of dollars. And they said, well, thank you for telling us. We know, and it's not a big deal, and we support you. And they were actually wonderful through the whole thing. But imagine that at that year, the concept of coming out was so far removed that it wasn't even an option. And when Ellen called me and said that she was going to have her character come out, I remember saying to myself, well, she's going to ruin her career. And for a while, that's exactly what she did. She took a lot of heat. She was the top point of that sphere, and she took a lot of crack and knocked down a lot of doors that a lot of other people, including me, have walked through easily. And it's amazing in my lifetime the way equal rights have now descended upon those of us who happen to be homosexual. So on behalf of humanity, I thank you. I'll shut up because this isn't politics.
No, but
Obviously not at the house a lot. I would
It's
shut
all
up.
politics.
It's all politics, Linda. You're right.
it is all politics. And to have an episode like this drop in your lap. So when you read it, what was your reaction to
I was thrilled.
episode? Yeah.
I was absolutely thrilled. And, I hope that I could, pull it off without being schmaltzy. And, of course, the only thing I see when I'm watching it is I'll look at my tummy. And this is me having lost 54 pounds. Can you imagine? This is, because I almost died of a heart attack. Is this my show? Is this on? Hi. No, I'm sorry. 4 years ago, I had a massive heart attack at the LAD, 100% blockage. I should be dead. I'm not. I'm allergic to
Thank
cherries.
God.
Thank you, Linda. Thanks for caring. But anyway, so I was thrilled. I was honored, Listen, my mother died at 39. I'm 54. Every year is like extended play on the video game. I get another lap. And every time, everything that, I have a career much larger than anything I ever dreamed of, living on Rhonda Lane in Comac with pictures of Barbara Streisand on my wall. And I would kiss her goodnight every night. Good night, Barbara. I hope you're okay. Tuck Jason in. I'm sorry, it didn't work out with
I thought you
Elliot.
meant now. That
No,
was
this is
then.
1973. Although still I
Aren't
do
you still in
sometimes.
Comac? Oh,
It was Comac, yeah.
Oh, you've seen them all in
Love
person
it.
now.
I know her now. I get.
That's awesome.
Barbara, can you hear me? She heard me. All right.
So now the last to come along in this season.
I
of
have to
Mom,
follow that.
And you do.
Thank you.
Never.
So much.
Not only that, you get to follow yourself because the episode that airs this Thursday is your return to the show.
Yes, this Thursday night.
So that's got to be exciting to be able to play the part more than once.
Yes, well, I loved doing it. I loved doing that part, and I was very lucky. My friend Marco Panetta is the head writer on the show, and came on, I think, 2 or 3 years ago. He's executive producer, and I did a show with him a few years ago called Conrad Bloom with Mark Feuerstein, and playing Mark's mother. And Marco wrote to me a few months ago and said, I'm going to write a part. Will you come out and do it? And I said yes. I would do anything that he wrote. And this part came up, and look how funny it is, and how true, and how engaging that woman is. To play a mother, a Jewish mother, and to not have it be written as a mean-spirited cliche is a very inviting opportunity. So she had a lot of grace. She had a lot of a great sense of humor. The thing about this show, there are many things about this show. You said well-oiled machine. As some of you may know, I did a sitcom for 9 years called Alice on television on CBS.
There's a new girl in town, and she's... Sorry, go ahead.
She knows it. And so I'm familiar with the form.
Yes.
And I'm familiar with working with guest stars. We had a lot of famous people. I mean, George Burns and Debbie Reynolds and Carney. And people walked into that diner who were famous and thrilling to work with, Telly Savalas, and gave us all an opportunity to perform with great performers, vaudevillians. This is a different experience. This is a company of actors, as both of our guests have said, your guests have said tonight, amazing, wonderful, well-trained comic actors playing a very serious story about people who survive through their humor. And I got to play somebody with a terrific sense of humor who comes in and ruins her son's life for an evening, and probably does that all the time, but with no guile. So it was great fun to do. And it was very satisfying to be and very touching to be so welcomed. These people know how to welcome a guest and make you feel comfortable from the first reading, from the table read, which is also always very exciting and very nervous-making because you hope you'll get the laughs that were intended, that are on the page. All the writers are looking at the script, and waiting for you. Once you get that first laugh, you know you're okay. You're going to be all right. But they were a very welcoming group and a very highly skilled and wonderful group of actors and writers. There's no better writing in television comedy, I think, than on Mom. I think it's the best
I agree.
of all the television shows.
And some of that has to do with the fact that it isn't just jokes; it's real. It's
It's not
humorous
just
when you
jokes at
laugh.
all. That's
It's
right.
tough, and the jokes have a sting to them. I love the bit where when Allison zings you, that you your eyebrows lift, like, ooh, this is going to be fun. You can tell you're having fun on the set.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I did want to ask you about the guest stars that came through Alice, because that is a different era of sitcomedy, when this kind of comedy was really all that we had. It was before the filmed comedy, and so this is now almost seen as a dark horse form of television, and it doesn't seem to have the same vibe and the same pizzazz in terms of media buzz about them. The shows like Mom and the Chuck Lorre shows as the filmed comedies do. But you coming from that tradition, your episode reminds me so much of like just a one-act play, the dinner scene. It played out from start to end without really a break, and it was just built and built and built. So can you talk about the value of this kind of comedy continuing on television?
Well, the value for me, as I hear you ask the question, is that there's a live audience. You get to find out right away if something's working. You've been rehearsing it all week. You think it's funny when you first hear it. You rehearse it 3 or 4 days in a row, and then the audience comes in. All of a sudden, strangers are there. If they like it, it's working. If they don't, the writers are on the floor, and they'll write you another line right away, and you'll do that next line. Now, when you started, as I did, in the chorus of Broadway musicals, you knew if you had to learn a song, all of a sudden, in the afternoon of the night you were going to be performing it. If you've done summer stock, all of this is the same. It's all the same. It's called hurry up and do it now. And the challenge to do it now and to have it work, it takes a company. It takes the entire company. It takes the writers being with you. It takes the actors, highly skilled and connected. It's all about connection for me. And so the idea of as you say, it's the filmed comedies that are now and they have been around since MASH. I mean, there have been film comedies, single-camera comedies. But for people who've come from the theater, as everybody in this show has, this is the satisfying way to work, because you find out right away, yes? It's working, and then your timing comes into it. You don't have to make up the time for the next gag or the next joke or the next line or the next exchange, because you know when the audience dies down, you know you have timing, and you work it. You work it with the audience. The audience is a big part of the show.
So June, you know about working with audiences. We came to know you basically with a movie like Nebraska was certainly your breakthrough about Schmidt. But talk about your own stage career that led you to this, where you are now, where you have been.
Well, I was here in New York for about 60 years, and I was working all the time. Thank you. I did a lot of musical work, Broadway, off, stock, did cabaret. I did just about everything. Everything you could possibly do on stage, the industrial shows, everything. And I never thought it would be different. I just thought that's how I would go out, on a stage somewhere. But I started doing film here in New York, and there was a difference all at once, that people wanted me to do film. So it's been great. I miss the stage. I miss New York. And I would like, I would like to be able to do more. But it's great. And after Nebraska, I mean, it's sort of like you hope you get a film like that in your life once, and now I hope I get 2 of them.
But they've been writing some terrific roles for you. I mean, like even being able to play Mima, and that's
yeah, no,
it's you were on Modern
great.
Family this season as well, playing again a sort of a twist on what would be on the surface a kind
The
of
old lady,
character. Yeah,
yes,
and she's tough as nails.
Yeah.
So again, then shifting between a show like, say, Mom and Big Bang Theory, and then doing Modern Family. So again, you can compare a little bit what that's like to go into that ensemble.
Yeah, well, they're very different. I mean, like with Modern Family, it was sort of like adults. They were all, I don't know how to explain that, but I mean, not that they weren't in the other shows, but there was, I don't know, a feeling of kind of living. These people had all lived more, certainly than the kids in Big Bang Theory. And I could get Allison mad if I said that she was, in that group too, but I won't. But it's I don't know. There's a different feeling about. I think the kind of comedy they do too. It's very, very quick, and it's sort of loud, and it's sort of in your face, and that's what they do, and that's what people want them to do. There's nothing negative about that, but it's very different than the two shows that I did with Chuck Lorre. I think he has a sort of he puts his own stamp on everything.
Mm-hmm.
All the shows that he produces.
And you're now based in L.A.
Yes.
That's your home now.
That's my home now.
Mm-hmm.
I gave up my New York apartment about 5 or 6 years ago, finally.
Rent controlled.
Everybody run 80th Street between Broadway and Amsterdam.
And Rosie, I mean, your career has so many facets to it, but do you consider yourself an actor first and foremost?
You know, my goal was to be in a Broadway show. When I was a kid, I wanted to be like one of Bet's backup singers, or, you know, someone in Fiddler on the Roof in the chorus. I never thought I'd get to be Golda. But, you know, when you think of traditional Yiddish theater, when a show's about to close, call O'Donnell. She'll do it. And it's fine. I'll be Hamilton in 2036. The thing is, I feel lucky when I get to, you know, perform at all. I have a recurring role on The Fosters on ABC Family, now known as Freeform, which sounds like a bra or a maxi pad. Not a name for a network. Anyway, I'm on Freeform on The Fosters, where I play a social worker. And my children, when they watch that show, they say, you're not even acting. That's just like you at home. And I was like, okay. So I'm always happy, you know, any gig that you give me, a Broadway show, an off-Broadway show, a stand-up gig, a documentary. I have so many interests, it's kind of OCD times 10.
Her episode is wonderful. I'm so glad we got to see it. I'm so sorry I didn't see June's tonight. But Rosie, I did get to see your episode at home. I watched the show as much as possible, Mom. And you're absolutely wonderful in this piece. You're just wonderful. You're real and you're true and you're honest and you're present and you're yourself and you're absolutely wonderful.
Well, thank you very much, Linda Lavin. It was very sweet.
So I would say that to answer Rosie's question for her, she is an actor.
Thank you, Linda Lavin. I am an actor.
I want to talk about a couple of the guest roles you've done before this, because you were one of, I think, the next to last secretary for Murphy Brown. Is that right?
That's right.
Number 92, if I have
I was, and I was a Broadway show freak, and I would just sing Broadway. I don't know how they cast me, and they cast me for that. And I've been, you know, I've done a lot of guest spots, and when I looked at one of the IDBM things once, I was like, holy shit, I did a lot, you know. When we go to the mall now and my kids go, face it, Mom, no one knows you.
No, that cannot.
It's true. I mean, there was a time when my children, I couldn't even go to the mall. And now, like, I go to the mall, nobody knows me the whole day. My son's like, 2 people thought you were Melissa McCarthy. I'm like, and she's doing really well, so f*** you, Blake. Bastard. It's the one who got me the Chuck Lorre gig, so it's okay.
And you played yourself on the Larry Sanders Show.
I did. Yes, I played myself. Too many losses, I have to say. When somebody that you grew up loving and admiring, and they're the light that you follow in the caverns of your soul while you're searching for yourself and art. When one of those lights go out, it's almost like you're lost. You have no more North Star. There have been too many, and you know, the first one when Nora Ephron died, I don't think I've gotten over it yet, you know, and it's hard now. It's hard when the people that you work with, when the people that you love, when, you know, you read, like, well, he can't be dead. Well, no, he is dead. He is, in fact, gone. And, like, it's hard. It's hard for all of us as we get older. But to lose those people who you can't remember your life without them in it is very, very painful. So, yes, I got to do... I work with Gary Shandling and with Larry, who reminds me so much of each other. You know, it's weird. It's weird to watch them go. It really is. There are some that I don't know what I'll do. Honestly, there are a few, like, when I hear, like, a star dies and I see I'm like, oh, my God, please don't. Okay. It's like I feel like I just survive it each time, you know. And I wish we could tell them, you know. Like, I mean... Yeah, like,
Tell
you know.
us now. Tell
Well,
us
do you know what?
now.
Like, listen.
Held my memorial right now.
Here we go. Linda Lavin. As I met her first when I was on Ronda Lane, my mother was sick with cancer. I thought if only Alice could be my mother with Flo as a friend and Beth Howard coming in. No. But it
I
does
know what
mean
you
a
mean.
lot,
I
especially
know.
people like, you know, people who grew up like I didn't have a mom, so I grew up and I had a tremendous investment in the families I saw on television. I had a tremendous investment in the women who were my mother's age, and when the women who were my mother's age are going, it's like painful all over again. It feels like 1973 all over again. Yeah.
Well, I want to do a little bit of flashback again to the time of classic comedy and a guest role that I think had to have a major impact on Linda's career when you guest starred on Rhoda. It was like 2 years before Alice happened, and you were in the classic. You can watch it on YouTube, by the way. I did, you know, knowing I was doing this, I just watched it on YouTube a day or so ago. The classic bridal shower episode of Rhoda when you were playing Linda Monroe. And it was. Do you remember the experience? And can you talk about?
Very well, very well. It was my first appearance on a sitcom, and I was very nervous. I knew Valerie. We had done story theater on Broadway together, so we were friends. I'd done a Second City production in Canada with her, so we knew each other, and I knew I was welcome. But I got to play her arch rival, her arch enemy from high school. I was invited to her wedding shower by mistake. Her sister went through her book and invited everybody from her class. And she finds out, Linda Monroe, was that my name? That I hadn't remembered. She finds out I'm coming. And
Nancy was on it, Nancy Walker? Was she on that episode?
yes, she was on that episode. And so all her friends from high school come to the shower, and in I walk in a hat. Very wealthy. And with a little gift from Tiffany. And she's not happy to see me. No one's happy to see me, and I'm so surprised. But what was wonderful about it was, as nervous as I was, those guys were so great to work with. Once again, there was the sense that what you could bring to it would enrich the experience. Although you followed the script, if something came to you, you were welcome to offer it. Or they would see in you something, the writers or the director, and say, what about this, what about this? So there was a spontaneity to it, a being in the moment. And when we got to the point where she kicks me out because I'm so rude to everybody and so rich, so successful and so demeaning to everyone, I said to Jim Brooks, what if I take my gift back?
Yeah, that was you.
Yeah. And he said, do it.
Yeah.
And we did it. So that was, you know, it was a moment of self-esteem raising for me, that I was welcomed. I was invited to try something on my own. At being such a novice at it, I was new at it.
Did you see that as a huge opportunity when that was presented to you? Because that
I see everything as an opportunity.
Wise woman.
Here is an opportunity.
Good answer. Thank you.
I would do this for the rest of my life if there were food. Food.
Book it. I'm totally in. Are you in? You with us? All right.
Everything's an opportunity. I mean, not to be glib about it, but you know, yeah, there you are. You know, and you're on the you're at Radford. You're at the studios that Mary Tyler Moore built, and you think, yeah, maybe something. You know, actually, I didn't think any of that. I thought, I hope I remember the lines. I mean, I was very nervous, but yes, of course, there is a time in that, in an experience, I think, for all of us. That who want this as much as I wanted it, where hope is absolutely the motivation and keeps us going and keeps us through the fallow times too. And there were. I mean, my career has never been a trajectory. It's always been up and down, and to the side and the other way and around and down and up and. You know, there was never that rise to the meteoric thing that you read about.
And nearly a decade on a hit CBS sitcom.
That was
Yeah, that was pretty
the
it.
big
That's
surprise.
meteoric, I think.
True. That was a big surprise. That was a job. That was a job that lasted for 9 fantastic years, and it gave me a life, and it gave me a great deal. It gave me the power to make movies in television. You talk about women in television. I was lucky enough to have a show that was about 3 working women, a single mother, a working single mother, and then to be able to produce and star in and develop movies for television, for CBS, that were always about women who walked through fire. Women, when I said we talked about politics, who knew nothing about politics, but it was always about politics because it was about, these movies were about women who had to take chances in order to survive, whether they were financial or spiritual or educational. I liked doing stories about women who were having lives that were constantly challenged by the institutions around them. And we made wonderful movies in the 70s and the 80s. And they're just beginning to come back now as features. I mean, Joy, to me, that lovely movie,
Yes.
is a movie that we made for television in the 80s. And now they're features. Nobody was doing movies, as features about women. Television was always welcoming to women. It was why I had that success. That was a big surprise to me. Alice was a huge surprise.
Wow. And okay, another role that will be iconic to a certain part of the generation was Nana from the OC. Do you remember your time on that?
I loved my time on that. That was a surprise. Again, a surprise. I was with my husband in Budapest, Hungary, in an airport, and 2 American girls came over and said, "You're the Nana, right?" And I had no idea, that you do your work, you go out in the street, people know you or they don't know you, but it's always surprising when they do and they recognize you in an airport in Hungary. It was a lovely show, and it was a chance also to get to a very serious place. A woman who had been diagnosed with cancer, a Jewish woman, and it was a Passover, and it was a lovely show. And then I moved to Florida. The second episode, the Nana moved to Florida, got blonde, and had a boyfriend. So they expand the character. And this episode that's coming up Thursday is my second appearance on Mom. So it was lovely to be invited back when they expand a character.
And they expand the character, and the situation, of course, changes. We don't want to give too much away, but it's an interesting. How'd you feel about the closure of your character on Mom?
The closure for me, I was surprised because, well, if we have to talk about it because the son that you saw in this episode won't be there. And I was surprised to learn that he wouldn't be there. But the script was about the mother taking care of business because things have changed on the show. And if you watch it Thursday night, you'll see. I don't want to give it away. But hopefully it's not closure for me because I'd love to go back and do that show again.
Well, yes. They leave it a bit open. Christy certainly takes to you. The character of Christy really takes to you, which is lovely.
It's mutual. I'm very fond of
I want to bring
Anna.
up another show that you did a recent character part on because I'm going to miss this show terribly. The season ago, you were on The Good Wife for several episodes playing Carrie's, what was it? It was the pretrial service officer.
Exactly.
I did not know there was such a thing.
Who
Yes.
did?
Okay, yeah.
I know, yes.
Yeah. But again, you step into that ensemble, which is one of the great acting ensembles of our recent time on network TV, for sure.
For sure.
So
I know last night was a sad night, wasn't it?
it was.
The closing of The Good Wife.
Yeah.
The last episode.
It's gonna leave a hole in my Sunday night. That's for
I'm
sure.
sorry.
Yeah.
I know. We have to do something else for you.
Yeah. Oh, please.
Yeah.
Yes. Honestly, yes.
Well, I loved it, and I loved working on it. I got to work with every one of those stars in the first episode I did. I played a bureaucrat who was giving them all a tough time. And they brought me back 2 or 3 times. 3 times. I loved doing it. That, again, a well-oiled machine. People who know what they're doing and give you all kinds of space to do what you've been hired to do. With great respect, with great grace. Juliana Margulies is one of the most. And she and Allison, the kind of grace that you get from women who are stars and of their own show and who lead the pack like a good quarterback, who lead the tone, set the tone, so that the quality of work is always the best it can be from everybody. Everybody feels welcome. Everybody does their best job. It's where you know, that's the hope. That's the apex. If that's all it'll ever be, that's enough.
Well, there's so much, there's so much great television now. Actually, the volume is overwhelming nowadays. And I'm curious about if there are shows that you watch that you keep thinking, oh, I would love to play in that sandbox. Are there any that come to top of mind?
Walking Dead.
Walking Dead.
Oh, no. I love that show.
Oh,
And
with you.
Game of Thrones. I love that. Those are my two favorites.
Is that right?
Yeah.
What would you like to do on Game of Thrones?
Game of Thrones? Well, I don't have an English accent, so I guess you'd have to mute something.
Mute someone. I would love to be on Shameless. I think that's one of the best shows on TV. And there was an arc done by Louise Fletcher where she played the mother of the Gallagher father, played by Bill, help me, Macy, thank you. Mommy's old. And it was like the most brilliant acting I'd ever seen. She did like 3 episodes in a row, and I was just amazed. The dark places they go to in that show is sort of unheard of on any other show. And it does remind me a little bit of my childhood in that, we had no mom. We were a bunch of kids raising ourselves. We were Irish. There was a lot of chaos. And I think that's a brilliant show, although I think it's done this year, but what an amazing show. Also, I cry still whenever I see anyone from Parenthood, the Bravermans.
I know.
I'm doing a show, miniseries called When We Rise about the gay movement since Stonewall for ABC. It's a miniseries for Disney. And I walked onto the set one day last week, and there was Joel from, which is not his real name. That's his character name, and I'm a professional actress. And I was like, Joel, oh my God, are you and Julia okay? How are the kids? The adopted one? I have adopted ones. It was really sad. The poor guy was like backing up. But I love that show, and I miss it too. And if you ever want just 2 seasons, but 2 of the best seasons, the show called The Bridge on FX with Franca Ponte, who was on Run Lola Run, the scariest female villain ever to go down in television history. She plays Eleanor. You'll have nightmares, but you'll thank me.
Do you have any TV obsessions at this point, or?
I'm sitting here trying to think. I love Modern Family. I'd love to be on Modern Family. There have been dramas that I've watched, and thank you very much.
I love that too.
My husband Steve will help me with this. It's
Awesome.
yes, love Better Call Saul. What else? What else do we watch that it's all gone? House of Cards. I wish
Kimmy
they'd
Schmidt.
asked me to do anything on House of Cards.
Watch Kimmy Schmidt?
I haven't watched Kimmy Schmidt
Yeah, that's
yet.
kind of crazily good in a weird, sick,
But I
twisted
have
way.
another dream, and I would like to actually have my own show on HGTV. Actually, I'd like to share it with my husband, who's very talented, and I'd like for us to be designers and builders, and I'd like to call it Possibilities. And I know, and I'm not going to do it, though.
But,
It's just too much hard work, but
but you've already have the
I have
theme
a
song.
passion for it. That's right, exactly. That's right.
Could I do a craft segment? on that?
Absolutely.
Okay, look, I'm in.
That would be awesome. Great. Yes. Well, speaking of your dreams and your wants, we should also do an update on what you guys have coming up next, because there's always going to be a next. So what do you have on the horizon besides the Fosters? Or
I'm touring with Cyndi Lauper and Boy George this summer, a bunch of dates in the New York East Coast area, and I'm trying to manage my 5 children. Not easy, and 4 of them are teens. And yes, and I had a baby when I was 50 because I needed to remind myself that I actually love children because I had 4 teenagers and I wanted to throw them in the Hudson. But so I'm doing that, and I'm doing this amazing miniseries about the gay life since Stonewall for ABC called When We Rise.
I've got 3 films coming out. I can't remember the name of one. It's at Sundance. It was at Sundance, and it did very well. But it's coming out in September. And then The Bastards with Ed Helms and Owen Wilson and J.K. Simmons. And I play J.K.'s mother. That's pretty. It's sort of, we're just cameos in this one, but it's funny. And then I have Table 19, which I really have good things about, I hope. When I go back to LA, I'm seeing a screening of it. But it, I think, opens in January. And then I'm shooting one in about 2 weeks. So a lot of film work.
Wow, that is just magnificent. Yes. And we keep following you back and forth from stage to television, back to stage. You've had another great year, but do you have any projects in the works as well?
I do. I have a film opening on the 16th. It's called Manhattan Night with Adrian Brody, Campbell Scott, Jennifer Beals. Yeah, and it's going to open at the theater down in what is it called on 14th Street? No, it's the other one. It's the Lowe's. That's right. And that'll be, the premiere is the 16th, but I can't go to it because I'm about to fly out to do a movie with Rob Lowe called How to Be a Latin Lover.
Oh,
A comedy written by Ken Marino, who, not written, but directed by Ken Marino, who wrote a picture I did with him a few years ago called Wanderlust. And he's a wonderful actor and writer. So that's what I'll be doing next week. And then keep in touch.
Does anyone else think right away they saw Rob Lowe's penis, or just me? Yes. Anyone else see the sex tape? I'm the only one in this whole audience that saw the sex tape. Okay, fine. You're all lying sacks of shit. I have a link, Linda. I'll send it to you later tonight. Just before you start working, I want you to know who you're working with.
So much. Put me at ease, yes.
Yeah, 2 girls in the bed at one time. He's a trooper. Okay.
well, we're gonna. I have some questions here that came from the audience, and these are good clearly actors' questions here, because the first one is, what job got you your SAG-AFTRA card? So, can you remember what job got you your card?
I did a stand-up comedy show on local television in New Jersey, Rascals Comedy Hour. Anybody?
And I got mine for doing like one of those CBS movies of the week, and it was a long time ago.
I think that's probably how I got mine. I did a movie called Sad Bird with Jack Albertson on CBS a long time ago, 1969, and I think that would probably have been my first SAG-AFTRA card. It certainly would have been SAG or AFTRA, and probably so. But I don't remember. I remember my first equity card.
Yeah.
That is a different union, so I won't speak of it tonight.
Okay. And another question. This is a very apropos question. What can be done to get more roles for older actors, especially women? And you seem like you're in the lap of it. How can more? roles be developed?
Embrace your age and don't give up. Don't just keep doing it. I don't know any other. I think that more and more they're writing though for us. I think that the grandmother, or the woman, the older woman, you see it quite a bit in television and film now. So, but I don't get your face done.
Okay.
All right? No, you know what I mean. Where if you try to erase your age, then I think that's so against you in film, especially film and television. So just be glad that you are what you are, and this is it. Okay.
Oh, wow. And for any of you, what's the most important advice you could give young acting students?
I always tell them, if you want to learn to surf, you have to go to the water. So just to work as much as you can and marinate yourself, get used to being in there, no matter what it is, take the job, get involved with the cast and the company, and keep going, So get in the water. That's what I always tell them. Surfing metaphor.
I always say, if you really want it, but it's really hard, so you gotta really want it. And if you stick with it, that's what it's all about. And doing everything, like Rosie said. I mean, you've got to do everything that they offer you, no matter what it is.
Unless
For a
it's
while.
morally reprehensible. That's my bottom line.
But for a while, anyway.
Well, speaking of which, there's a question here about how important is the relationship between actors and producers, and I assume that means professional relationship between actors and producers. And maybe that would be apropos to being on a show like this and how much contact you have with the producers and how important is the
Well,
work?
many producers write as well. Many of the executive producers, and everybody sort of starts in the writing pool. And in a show, a Chuck Lorre show, and he's probably the best that there ever has been at it. All the writers pool together, and they're like a really intensely trained team. You pull into a pit in the racetrack, and they can change the tire. Like they can make you 10 new jokes in the time it takes for the cameraman to move. So I think that you get to be more connected to the producers because they're so involved in the writing, I find nowadays.
I think with this group, with Chuck and on his shows especially, you feel you trust them. You feel comfortable. You trust they're not going to let you do something that's wrong or bad or looks dumb. So they're really great at what they do, and that's what you said.
But I liked hearing you say it too.
And to bring this whole conversation back around to the show Mom, we were asked, did you want to work on the show because of a desire to work with Anna and Allison, to work on something that has an important theme like addiction, because work is work, or a combination of all?
Well, I think for me, a combination. I don't know, Linda's combination?
For me, I'm just seeing this show.
Right.
I said yes.
Yes, when you see something this good, as you've asked us, what other shows would you like to be on? You want to be part of something good. You want to be part of something that you can contribute to, and you want to work with great people, and all of that exists on Mom.
You all had like significant scenes with Allison. So can you talk about Allison for a second? Just what that was like to develop the scene work with her in the show?
She's fantastic, and she'd go over the lines all the time. I was very nervous about going up on my lines, and so we went over it, and she kept Chuck kept telling me to slow down, and I was kind of pushing it. And then on the night of, she's like, "Let's breathe, and let's go slow," and we go. And I was like, and it was the slowest I ever did it. It was, it was kind of, she was lovely. She was so helpful. She was so prepared and very kind.
They have great food on that set.
Very good catering.
Great food. They make omelets on Tuesdays. I've got this down. I've done the show twice. And on Mondays, it's all smoothies and all the blenders and the juicers are there. And then lunch comes in. You just want to stay for lunch and do the run through and get the lunch to go home. They have takeout dishes. They have plastic, cardboard boxes for you to take your dinner. Take it. This is just going to go to waste. I like to go to work on Mom mostly because of the food.
Yeah. And when a show is that good and then all the rest of that crap is good too, it's like you won the lottery just by being asked to be on it, truthfully.
But I love the idea that he tells you to slow down, and I think that might result in that realness that you were responding to, Linda, when you talked about Rosie's performance. And in terms of your work, because there was a lot of activity in your scene with people coming in and out a lot. So was there a lot of stop time, or did it run straight through like a play would run?
It ran straight through. The technical aspects of a show, and that's what I think the audience gets to see when they come. There are 4 cameras, and they're running all the time, so that you can stop between the scenes, and you saw that. But you run the scene, and you can run it again if you need to. If they want you to rewrite, do a rewrite, you run the scene again. But they don't overdo it on Mom. I've been on shows before where they wear the audience out doing it too many times. And then suddenly and finally things just aren't as funny anymore. But I was watching this and thought, wow, technically this is so thrilling to be on a show like this and watch all those cameras move around and find you. You don't have to worry about the cameras. You have to make connections with the other actors, tell the story, do the stuff you want to do, that you're supposed to do. Do the work, connect, and the audience will get it. The cameras will see you. And the next thing you know, there are millions of people watching it.
And hopefully you'll all be watching on Thursday when Linda's episode airs.
I hope so.
I want to thank all of our panelists for
Thank you so much, Matt.
Thank you.
Linda,
Thank you all.
for your attention. Yes, thank you.